First things first, I love Coach Tibbs. For real. But I'm not going to be one of these people who is a total Tibbs apologist, who acts like the sky isn't blue, who acts like Tom Thibodeau is beyond reproach. Tom, Mr. Thibodeau, Coach Tibbs, we have to expand the rotation. We have to. Knicks lose tonight to the Orlando Magic, 103-94. And the team lacked energy the entire night. The Orlando Magic are absolutely decimated by injury. Jamal Mosley, you got to give him a lot of credit for the way that he has gotten this team to continue to compete on the defensive end, the way that he game plans on the defensive end. We'll get into all that. But we got to really, really stop and take a second and look at a team who is missing their best player, their second best player, their third best player, and another player who is a key rotation player. And not only are they coming out and playing with a certain level of energy on a nightly basis, coming into the Garden and beating a Knicks team that has now lost 3 straight after a 9-game winning streak. But with all of those players out of the rotation, their bench today gave them 98 minutes and 50 points. Our bench today gave us 54 minutes and 28 points. So understand something. They're playing their like 8th, 9th, and 10th and 11th guy due to injury. We're missing Karl Anthony Towns. We're also missing Deuce McBride. Our starter, our second best player probably, and Deuce, our number 1 player off the bench. But yet we still are relatively much more healthy than the Orlando Magic are. 8-man rotation. 8-man rotation. Precious gets 22 minutes. Campaign gets 12. Landry Shamet gets 21. Tyler Kolek does not see the floor, cannot see the floor. Ariel Hook-Porty, who many people would like to see, does not see the floor, even with Karl Anthony Towns not available. Hey, man, we got to keep it a buck, man. We got to keep it real. I love Thibs. He's the best coach we've had since Van Gundy. If you watch me talk Knicks, then you know about how I feel about Tom Thibodeau. I think there are certain things that have evolved with him in his Knicks tenure. He's played young players more. He's run a more creative offense, few more sets. We've gotten better at inbounding the ball, something that was a huge deficiency last season, but this season we seem to have figured out. The next step that he has to take, that he needs to take, that the Knicks need him to take if we want to be a championship caliber team, is he has to start playing his bench more. Now, that is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Many people will say, well, if he plays them more and we lose some games, then you'll be mad at him about that. And I do realize that, the first time that we're up by 15 and you take the starters out with 3 minutes to go and another team storms back and wins, I'm going to be pissed. But when you really take a step back and you look at it, you look at that Oklahoma City game this past Friday, the Knicks were gassed at the end of that game. It was clear to see. Just looked at them. They looked gassed. And they go into that fourth quarter with an 8-point lead, and Oklahoma City storms back. And then you go and you look at the box score, and all of their starters played about 7 less minutes than the Knicks starters did. Kind of makes sense that they were a little bit more fresh at the end of the game, right? God, I mean, it's almost like hard for me to criticize Thibs. It really is. especially like in a form like this, because what's interesting is that I'll criticize Tibbs like when I'm talking to my pops. I'll criticize Tibbs even sometimes like in some group chats. But even in those spaces, I tend to be more of a Tibbs apologist, and definitely when it comes to like what I post on X, I'm almost always pro Tibbs. But man, it's hard. It is hard to look at this one. It is hard to look at these last 3 games and not feel like we're just a little bit spent. And I know that we've dealt with some injuries, but that's the thing. Tonight's juxtaposition of the Orlando Magic, our injuries have been nothing close to theirs. So they're that much deeper of a team than we are. Is that the issue, that we just don't have enough guys who can contribute? Because when I see Tyler Kolek get on the floor, does he look like a world beater? No. Does he look like he is going to be an impact defender at an NBA level at this point in his career? No. Is he even going to be somewhat of a liability there? Yes. But there are things that he does to help a basketball team. He can shoot and he can distribute. He's an elite distributor in the NBA right now. The jump shot, we've seen some of it. He's killing it in D-League, but we know that doesn't always translate. But right now, whether or not it's not enough guys that Tibbs can trust, or Tibbs isn't giving these guys enough of a leash to be able to get better and to be able to prove that they can be trusted in games, whatever the case may be, our current bench production will not even lead to getting to a conference final. And this has been the bugaboo. This has been the scary elephant in the corner, even throughout the win streak. Do I think the season's over? No. Should the sky fall? No. Do we have a problem? Yes. We have a problem. Our bench is not giving us enough. Last year, that was one of our strong suits, was how deep we were. This year, we have the worst bench in the NBA. The statistics show it. If you watch these games, it shows. We have to find more production off the bench. Beyond the fact that I would like some of the starters to get less minutes, Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart currently lead the NBA in minutes per game. OG Anunoby is number 7. So that's 3 players in the top 10. That's not total minutes, that's minutes per game. I would like them to get more minutes. But more than anything, I would like us to be able to get production from somebody else besides the starters. A night like tonight, where you absolutely cannot shoot the basketball at all. The Knicks were absolutely pathetic from behind the arc tonight. 4 of 22. At one point, they missed 15 straight, and that was in the stretch. That was the third and the fourth quarter. I think Cam Payne just slung one up at the end to break the streak when the game was already over. But if we don't get more production from the bench, if we don't have guys that can score, and I know Deuce is hurt, but Deuce was not playing great just before he got hurt. Can we depend on him to be the scorer off the bench? Is he the scorer off the bench in a championship team? Be real with yourself, Knicks fans. Deuce McBride is not the scorer off the bench on a championship team. He's not. Be real. I love Deuce. I wouldn't give Deuce up. There's not too many people you could involve in a trade that I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and ship him for Deuce. But I'm just saying, think about it. At the end of the day, the team holding the trophy, their 6th man was Deuce McBride. Can he become that player at some point? Yes. Is he that player right now? No, he's not. Not on a consistent enough basis. He's just not. And is a team where Landry Shamet is getting consistent big minutes, is that team a championship team? I don't know, man. I don't know. Landry Shamet does some nice things. He's solid, but he's very limited. It's not like, listen, the guy's been in the league for a minute. He's not all of a sudden going to become something that he's not. And Landry Shamet tonight in 21 minutes was 0 of 3. All of those shots were from 3-point land. He gave you 1 rebound, 1 assist. He was a +1 on that game. The only plus that we had, actually, Landry Shamet. We got to find a way to expand the rotation, man. We have to. Karl Anthony Towns said after the game against the Thunder, he said, "I'd be lying to you guys if I said I wasn't exhausted." Let me not misquote my guy, Big Cat. What exactly did he say? He said, "I'd lie if I said I wasn't exhausted. I think the film shows it, but I was willing to do whatever it takes to get the win. I just wanted to put myself in a position to help my teammates win and continue winning. Unfortunately, we didn't get the job done tonight. It hurts. It stings." I don't know why exactly you mix that in unless you're somewhat trying to kind of deliver a message. Karl Anthony Towns, he's averaging the third most minutes per game amongst centers in the NBA. His minutes per game are similar. They're not crazy compared to what he's typically done throughout his career. He is averaging the most minutes per game of his career right now that he has in any season. But again, it's not like some, huge range between what he's done before. But the number 2 season was back when Thibs was the coach of Minnesota. Take that for whatever you will. Man, it's Thibs is a great coach. I in no way feel like we need to move on from Thibs, like we need a different coach. I think these guys love him. I think they play for him. I think that the front office needs to have a conversation with him about the fact that we cannot continue to have 3 guys in the top 10 in minutes per game and have 2 guys at 1 and 2. That's not sustainable. Mitchell Robinson coming back, Cat coming back, McBride coming back, that's not going to change things drastically when it comes to the minutes of OG, Mikal, and Josh Hart. Mikal Bridges gets all of this, credit, and it's credit that he deserves about being an Iron Man, right? He's leading the league in minutes. I've seen Mikal come up gimpy a couple times. Tom Thibodeau, if you end up becoming the guy that coaches Mikal Bridges and he's leading the league in minutes, and he ends up coming up lame, and he ends up getting injured and having to miss games, and he breaks his streak, the narrative of Thibs runs his players into the ground will be etched in stone at that point. Oh, man. The Knicks at the end of the day, defensively, they didn't seem like they had the level that they typically need, but really they gave up 103 points. You give up 103 points in an NBA game. Typically, you feel like you're going to win, especially when you're a New York Knicks team that has been like top 3 in offense all season long, but you only put up 94 points tonight. And that's another part about the rotation, is that when you give guys an opportunity, how many times as Knick fans have we seen some bum that we've never heard of come out and bust our ass, have the game of his life? When you run 8 guys, you don't even really give anybody a chance to do anything like that. I mean, you look at this guy Wiggins for OKC the other night, who killed us. Now he's a player. He gets 20 minutes a game for those guys. Like, he's a player, I mean, it's not like he's just some guy who barely plays and all of a sudden got thrown out there and had the night of his life. But you can see that they give enough guys enough of a chance that if somebody has it going, all right, well, this is the guy, we're riding with him. Thibs has shown there's times this year where he's left Brunson on the bench a little bit longer in the fourth quarter because another lineup has it going. I just think that as a whole team, we need to give more guys an opportunity. And I realize that if these guys come in and they don't play well and therefore we lose games because of it, I'm not going to be happy about that. But when I look at these statistics, when I look at these numbers and these box scores on a nightly basis, it doesn't feel sustainable. It doesn't. I don't blame Thibs for the injuries that we ran into last season. They were all, kind of freakish, happenstance, bad luck injuries. They weren't overuse. I don't think OG hurting his calf was his His hamstring was an overuse. I think if anything, that has to do with the missed time because of the elbow. Like we see in football, guys get soft tissue injuries when they go from, not playing because they hold out or they're injured, and all of a sudden they're thrust into, game action. So I don't think it was that. And Josh Hart, the abdominal strain, I think that was bad luck. If anything, that might be the one that you could say possibly you feel like the fatigue had something to do with that. But Julius, bad luck. Arguably, was in a game at a time and score that maybe he shouldn't have been. Can argue that. And like I said before, the same thing can be argued about Cat in this previous game. But these guys, they need a little bit more of a spark. They need a little bit more energy, and they need a little more gas in the tank at end of games. And there's been more than a few times this year that at the end of a game, I felt like the Knicks have run out of gas. And then I go and I look at the box score, and all of our starters are in the 40s. All of our starters are in the 40s. Can't do that too often, Thibs. Can't do that too often. Josh Hart, these last few games, I noticed it in the OKC game. I noticed it in the Chicago game, and I noticed it in the Orlando game. I feel like Josh Hart, there's been a couple times where I've seen him look a little bit lackadaisical, play a little bit lazy. And I think I even said during the Chicago game, yo, come on, Josh, that's not you. That's not who you are. Well, he's second in the league in minutes per game. Maybe that has something to do with it. Josh Hart right now, 37.7. Great numbers, 14, 9, 5.5 assists, 1.4 steals per game, too. Josh Hart has been Mr. Everything, and he had that great stretch. Maybe it's catching up to him a little bit. You have a couple 3 games and 4 nights. I think we had those 2 types of stretches back to back. And they're playing like it. 3 games, 3-game losing streak. You win 9 straight. You feel good. We got a bunch of games coming up at home. You lose 3 in a row. OKC is tough. They turn around. They came back on Boston. They got Cleveland on Wednesday, and we're going to see that. And if they just run through Cleveland too, they really have stamped themselves as we are the best team in the league. But one thing I tell you about all of those teams, Cleveland, Boston, OKC, they're deeper than us. So what do we do? Because the thing is that if you want to make a move as the Knicks, if you're going to bring back anybody of consequence, anybody making, real money, 10, 12, 14, $16 million a year, you're going to have to give up Mitch to make the money work, especially now that we're up against the second apron. So we're going to have to give up Mitch if we want to make a move. Or the only other thing that happens is Mitch comes back and some of these other guys start to get some minutes. Kolek, Pacome Daddier, Huck Porty. We got to find some minutes for these guys. Jacob Toppin is dominating in the G League. We got to find some minutes for these guys, man. TJ Warren. He's playing in the, he's playing in the G League. I don't know, man. I don't know exactly what it is. And I'm not sitting here saying like, hey, this guy's definitely ready to play, blah, blah, blah. I think that Tyler Kolek is ready to play some NBA minutes. I think rather than some of these other guys playing the extended minutes that they are, Tyler Kolek could play a few more. I've liked what I've seen out of Pacome Daddier. But it's really hard to feel like these guys are going to be able to do anything at the NBA level when they play a couple garbage time minutes once in a blue moon. Especially with the record that we have. And we've played a lot of close games. But there's some more games where we need to be working these guys in for when we actually need them in the pinch. And they can come in and they can give us something. Because right now, Thibs has absolutely no confidence in bringing these guys in the game. None. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges both played 42 tonight. OG and Anunoby played 35. Brunson played 36. Sims 29. And Sims, he's so offensively challenged. I know they say he's a good defender. I never see him challenge a shot at the rim. He moves his feet well when he gets switched on to smaller players. But those 29, give him 15 and give Huck Porty 14 of those. We needed a spark. We needed energy. Thibs said it himself. Everybody said it. We needed a spark. We needed energy. Guess what? Guess who's good at that? Young players. Throw them in. Let's see what they could do. Landry Shamet had a tough night, man. 21 minutes, no points, 0 for 3. He played okay. I saw him have like one good assist, I think. But Jacob Toppin, Ariel Hukporti, Tyler Kolek, Pacome Dadier, them guys all need to start getting some minutes, man. Here and there. Because you never know when you're going to need them. And you cannot run an 8-man rotation against a team who is missing arguably their top 4 guys, definitely their top 3 guys. And yet they still have Jonathan Isaac playing 25 minutes, Wendell Carter Jr., 26 minutes off the bench, Trevlin Queen, 5 minutes off the bench, Anthony Black, 26 minutes off the bench, Jet Howard, 16 minutes off the bench. Jet Howard? I mean, I'm a junkie. And if I'm not seeing his face at the same time, I'm not sure that I know exactly who Jet Howard is. So this is what I'm saying. You can't tell me that all of these guys are that much better than Hukporti, Dadier, Jacob Toppin, and Tyler Kolek. They're not that much better than them. We have to be able to find a way to integrate them into the lineup. To when we are missing 2 rotation players, not run an 8-man rotation and have our bench get absolutely destroyed. 18 points from our bench tonight. I think I said 28 before. No, 18 points compared to their 50. Come on, man. They look spent, yo. We're not going to be able to have 3 guys in the top 10 in minutes all season and hope that we avoid injury and that we are healthy and ready to go come the postseason. We're not going to be able to. Towns, especially with his track record, having him in the game in the last few minutes when it is a blowout. And the other thing about that Bulls game is that he looked spent at the end of that game. There's a few minutes before he got injured. He was playing well. He played well in the fourth quarter. Tries to bring us back, but you got to get to a certain point when you say, all right, we're down by 13. There's 2 minutes left to go. If we're going to come back, on some miracle shit, that's great, but let's go ahead and get Cat out. Thibs, I love you, brother. I really, really do, man. You've meant so much to this organization. I'm so thankful you're a coach. I think this is a Thibs issue. I think this is a Leon Rose issue. I think the front office needs to step in here and they need to say, hey, listen, do we need to add some depth? Who are some guys that we could get that you might trust? And who can we add to this roster that you will give some minutes to so we do not have our starters looking spent at the end of games? And so that we have a minute distribution that is just more in line with what the rest of the league does. Because there was times last year when people talked about how, Thibs runs too much minutes, and you looked at the stats and you were like, yo, this ain't even true. Yo, Brunson's only out, he was like 12th in the league, or at some points he was higher, but it's like, yo, he's an MVP candidate. Of course he's going to be high up there. When you look at the minutes per game stats, it's not a bunch of bums up at the top. It's all the best players in the world that their teams really rely on them. But at the end of the day, you look at it this year and the numbers in front of you tell a pretty clear story, man. I don't blame the Cat injury on Thibs. In fact, there's not any particular injury where I've been like, this is because he's running him into the ground. To me, it's more about the energy that we have at the end of games and the energy that we have at the end of tough stints as far as games and amount of nights. Those 3 games in 4 nights, those back-to-backs, we struggle with that. There's been more than a few times this year that in the fourth quarter, it just seems like we don't have it. Jalen Brunson, the jumper's been off recently. The jumper, the 3-point shot has been way off recently. Is that tired legs? This is not with Brunson. I'm trying not to get too alarmed because he's Brunson. He always figures everything out. But yeah, the shot, and especially the 3-point shot here recently, has been, it's not been what we're used to from JB. So we got a lot of games at home. less travel. I think it was 10 of our next 12. So that means now it's 9 of our next 11. We'll be at home, a lot less travel. No matter what the case may be, if I keep seeing box scores like this with 8-man rotations and the other team is outscoring us 50-18 and they have 98 bench minutes compared to our 54, he_did this to me. Go check it out right now. I defend Thibs. Go check that out right now. Go check out my comments, my posts, my replies. I'm out here defending Thibs. You making it hard on me, brother. Thibs, you my guy, but you making it hard on me here recently. Play the kids a little bit. Knicks, look yourselves in the mirror. It's 3 games. The sky's not falling. But I'm looking up nervously. It's your boy Nick on Knicks. Peace.